Good morning and welcome to another 10 minutes at 10. So we're slightly earlier today, which is amazing. So we're super organised and ready to go. So today we are here to talk to you about the 7 reasons why you need to raise your prices now. So 7 reasons why you need to raise your prices. How do you know when you need to raise your prices? Not necessarily when you could or should raise your prices. We'll look at that another day. But 7 reasons why you need to raise your prices.
So, first one, if your net profit margin is reducing. So basically, are you selling less? Are you selling the wrong thing? Are you spending more? It's worth taking a closer look at your P&L to understand exactly why and where your margins are reducing.
And
this is usually a little telltale sign, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't do that, do they? And that's one of the challenges. It's one of the reasons why it's so important to have your management accounts done and kept up to date, is so that you know. Oops, let's get the mic down here. So that you know.
Didn't even notice that.
Neither did I. So that you know that you're actually making a profit or a loss. And if your margins are reducing over time because perhaps costs have crept up or some of your sales have dropped off, if you don't know about it, you can't do anything about it and you can't action it. So it's super important to have your management accounts up to date so that one of the things or the actions that you can take if you see margins dwindling is to increase your prices.
Don't just plod along.
No, well, that's one of the challenges I think that we see. And a lot of people are then working from the balance in their bank, aren't they? Making decisions on what cash they've got in, not necessarily what is making profits and making losses in their business. So super important to have your management accounts up to date and working neatly and tidily so that you know when it's time to raise your prices. So number 2 is when your costs increase and you know you need to charge more to your customer to cover the increase of those costs. So say your supplier costs increase, or say you're trying to put a salary rise in place for your staff, or perhaps you've got an office agreement, a rental agreement, and you know that your prices are going to go up in 2 or 3 months' time. Now is the time to think about raising those prices.
This one sounds like a no-brainer, but I find it's trickier for service companies to do this.
If
you're product-based, because you're buying the product and you're selling directly on with a margin, or you're adapting it, it's easier to just add that cost because it costs you more. If you're in service, I think actually a lot of people, they kind of put this one off a little bit, and I think that's half the problem.
Or one of the other things that we hear quite a lot is, I'm going to just take it on the nose.
Yeah,
I'm going to absorb that price increase because I don't want to pass it on to my customer. But as soon as you do that, then you're starting to cut your own margins and taking out of the money that you can take from your business. And that's not necessarily a good thing.
Third point is to fund investment. So you might actually be training your staff. In order to invest in your staff and your training, you need to generate an extra income. Therefore, this is your chance. And actually, you might need to increase your prices to be able to do this. Bear in mind that obviously, if you develop your staff, if you train your staff, you'll be able to sell more, you'll be able to deliver more. So it's one of those things which pays off in the long run, but of course, it does have a cost. So it's just one thing to factor in on that one.
And it's another one where you kind of think, well, I shouldn't really pass the training cost or the extra equipment cost or the extra thing that you're buying into your business. You shouldn't really pass that on to your customer. But if you don't pass it on to your customer, that comes out of your net profit and the profit that's available to you. So you have to go back to thinking about this less emotionally, and should that money be in your pocket or should that money be in your client's pocket? So again, is that now time to raise your prices? So another thing to think about there is, if you're training yourself or your staff, if you are increasing those skill sets, and then if you are then passing that increased skill or knowledge onto your customers and providing a better, a bigger, a more robust, a better quality service, is that not another indicator that you need to increase your prices to your customer? Otherwise, again, it's coming out of your bottom line. So the fourth indicator for when you know you need to increase your costs to your customers is when they're asking for more. If they're constantly asking for more and they're not paying for it, they're asking for extra jobs or extra advice, or they're spending more time on the phone with you, challenging, questioning, you're delivering more. Now, there's an element where you could argue that this is an investment in your customer, and of course it is. That's great. You want to do the best and deliver the most outstanding service. But there comes a point where you often cross over and you start to become a busy fool. And then you start to, you're spending a lot of time and investing a lot of time in dealing with all of these extra queries that you're not necessarily getting paid for. And then, as that escalates, your clients become cross because you're late delivering something that they're not paying for. So that's another thing to look out for. If you get to that point, that again might be another indicator that you need to raise your prices.
Now, there's actually kind of two elements to that. So that's point 4. Point 5 is if the scope of the service creeps. So this isn't so much if they're calling you and you're just doing little extra jobs here and there. This is actually genuinely if the business has developed in such a way that they now require additional services or
volume
different
increases
things. Things like that. And it'll be stuff that they might not have asked for. It's just stuff that just gradually adds on a little bit at a time. And then suddenly your workload's up here when it should be down here somewhere. So actually, that's a really critical one. If the scope, we spoke about the scope creep monster before, but scope creep is one of those ones which often leads to a need to increase your prices.
Number 6 is when your customer isn't growing and which has created more work, which is again part of the whole scope creep. Now, sometimes the scope just creeps gradually. Sometimes your customer is growing and they simply want more stuff. Now, it could be that you are doing more stuff and not charging for it, or the scope has crept and you're not charging for it. Or it could be that you can see your customer growing, you have new products, new services, new things that you could be selling to that customer, but you're not. So if you know that your customer is growing and you have something that can help them grow further or ease their points of pain as they are growing, again, that's time to discuss a price rise with them. Not necessarily for more cost on what they're already paying for, but this could be upselling new products, upselling new services, upselling new tools, more support, that kind of thing. So think there about what you can do that will make your customers' lives easier as they're going through their growing pains.
And then point 7 is quite simply when you feel like a busy fool, just in general, because that's usually a real telltale sign that you're over delivering, that you're not charging the right rate, that you're working too hard and not getting the reward for it. And the problem is when you're a busy fool, it's really hard to create that extra capacity. So you can't suddenly draw in more clients if you're really, really busy and rushed off your feet. So actually, rather than increasing the capacity, you need to increase the price element of it so that you are compensated for that, so that you feel like less of a busy fool and you're getting the reward for it.
Yeah. Now, one of the challenges here is when you need to create more capacity in your business and you know that you're too busy servicing too many smaller clients, if you then increase your prices, the chances are that you can reduce some of your clients, and then you don't need necessarily to be working for quite so many people for quite so little money. So think about this in a slightly different way. So losing customers is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's one thing that many of us are really, really afraid of. So if you increase your prices, the fear is that your customers are going to leave. But actually, if you increase your prices strategically, then the lesser quality customers, the customers who are really price sensitive, may leave, and that will leave you with more capacity and more space to service the better clients, the clients who are going to pay the higher prices for the work that you do, assuming, of course, that your clients truly value what you do. So one of the fears of raising your prices is that your customers will leave, and if that often tends to be where people don't have confidence necessarily in the value of the work that they're delivering. Now, that's a whole different issue that we'll cover later on in the week. But think about capacity releasing or capacity generation. If you doubled your prices, the old marketing adage goes, if you double your prices, you'll halve your clients. And that is a good thing if it's the right clients that are left. You don't want the difficult clients to be left over. You want the ones that are valuing what you're doing and how you're delivering it. And most of the ones that value what you do and how you deliver it will be comfortable with a sensible price rise. And it's difficult to say whether that's 5% or 10% or 50%. That really is down to you, your business, your customers, and how they feel about the service or what the product that you're delivering.
So, learning point from today is evaluate some of these situations, see if they apply to you. See if you actually think, yeah, that's me.
That's me.
That is completely me. Maybe I need to look at raising my prices. It's not I need to look at, it's I need to raise my prices. Because if you fall into one of these categories, what you'll actually find is that you're working too hard or you're not getting the right income for the given contract which you have in place. So really do look at these, and actually there might be other reasons why you need to, but these are just some of the ones that we think are really, really key.
The biggest one I also think as a driver to this is when you as the business owner are not drawing enough money. If you don't feel like the business is supporting you and the business is paying you what you think you should be earning, that's another indication, probably the most important and the most painful one that you'll be feeling. If the business is not paying you enough and there isn't the ability for the business to pay you more, it's the clearest indicator that you need to raise your prices. So that's it from us today. If you enjoyed the video, please let us know in the comments. If you have any questions, queries, or anything to add, please do let us know. If you're watching on the replay, please let us know with the hashtag replay so we know who you are and we can say hello. And if you have any queries, please add them in the comments. So that's it from us today, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.